on crossing guards to get our kids safely where they need to go, but there have been 24 injuries reported to both crossing guards and kids here in Utah since 2016.
Yeah, Chris Jones in our Beyond the Books unit has been looking into the numbers. You'll be surprised what he found out.
Well, we asked every major police department in the state to give us information about accidents involving crossing guards. Many of them said they don't keep that sort of info. A bunch didn't even respond. But what we did find is almost 24 crossing guards and their children have been injured by cars in the last several years. What we're finding out from crossing guards is they say that their bosses aren't listening to them.
It was morning.
Myra Gish's life
I just held my sign up, started walking across.
as a Provo crossing guard
Oh, and I looked, and there she was. I
essentially ended
put out my hand to catch myself and then broke my wrist.
September 9th, 2016.
They took me to the emergency room.
Myra was knocked to the ground by a car and would have to have surgery on her arm. She did, however, reluctantly finish out the year.
After you were hit, were you kind of, did you have shell shock after it
A
happened?
little bit nervous, yeah.
And she and other crossing guards have reason to be. This job is one of the most dangerous duties in education. Beyond the Books asked every major police department in Utah to find out how many crossing guards had been injured on the job. Of the 31 grammar requests we submitted, only 19 police departments responded. We found that since 2016, 20 crossing guards and students have been hit by cars. Some injuries were serious, including broken arms and legs.
Do you think that enough is done to protect crossing guards?
No.
Myra says her bosses ignored suggestions that could have kept her safe. Suggestions that included purchasing illuminated stop signs for guards to carry.
And I mentioned it to my supervisor, and she just said, oh, you know, that would be too expensive, so.
So it was about cost for them.
Yeah.
Is there more that could be done to keep them safe? Are we doing everything we can?
They have the vests on, there's lights flashing. The biggest thing would be just awareness.
But Sergeant Nisha King with Provo Police says it's not about equipment. She says distracted drivers are putting crossing guards at risk. Beyond the Books analyzed the data from those police reports, and in every case, the drivers are to blame, mostly because they weren't paying attention. And in 3 cases, drivers ran into crossing guards and simply drove away.
I'd hold up my sign and start out, and the cars would just whiz by. And so I thought, you know what, maybe I shouldn't do this anymore.
Myra won't deny drivers are often oblivious. And she says her injuries and fears of getting hit again forced her to pack up her stop sign and fluorescent vest.
My children wanted me to quit. They didn't want me to be at risk anymore.
Get those people to pay attention.
Absolutely.
Sergeant King says drivers are too often in a rush that can and has sent too many people to the hospital.
If your route to go to work or wherever it is that you're heading has a school zone in it, leave 5 minutes earlier. It's worth the safety of the children.
Former South Weber Mayor Tammy Long used to be a crossing guard for years. She says the state legislature could do more to protect these crossing guards. For example, pass a law that has a higher infraction on people who are looking at their phones when they're in a school zone. If you have an education story that you think we should investigate, the telephone number is on your screen.